Hello, this is February 22nd, 2022. It's 2 p.m. Brazil local time, so it's a different date because it's a palindrome date, if you noticed, and we started at 2 p.m. Okay, so it's a pleasure to have everybody with us here, and we have today a general training about INTELLIXIR with one of the best subject matter experts and trainers in Questel, who is Amandine Kandi-Masakidi. I will ask Amandine to introduce herself. We made a short introduction, at least from before we started recording, but Amandine will ask you to introduce yourself, and then you can go ahead with the training. So you have the microphone, Amandine. It's with you now.
All right, thank you, Henry, for the introduction, and nice to all meet you. So as mentioned by Henry, my name is Amandine Kandi-Masakidi. I am one of the subject matter experts at Questel. I've been with the company for 4 years, a bit more than 4 years now. Before that, I've worked in multiple companies. I also worked as a consultant, and I use this tool for real projects for clients. And actually, when I started working after my studies, INTELLIXIR was the first tool that was introduced to. So I've known the tool for more than 10 years.
More than 10 years?
Yes. So I started in 2011. Yeah, I started working in 2011. So it's been like 10 years I've known the tool. I have not used it like consecutively for 10 years, but I've used it I've known it for 10 years. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to train you on Orbit INTELLIXIR. First, I'm going to introduce or reintroduce the tool just for you to have an idea of what you can do with the tool, what it is, what you can do, the type of data that you can import, and the type of output that you can get. And then we'll go more specifically on how to actually use the tool. The goal is not just for me to talk, is for you to learn. So if you guys have any questions, do not hesitate to interrupt me. I mean, I will take time also to ask you if you have any questions, but do not hesitate to ask the question either in English or in Portuguese. And I think Henry can do the translation if needed.
Amandine, sorry to interrupt you, but your voice is a little low. Maybe if you could your volume. Yeah.
I don't know if I can do that. Maybe I can try to speak louder. Is it better now?
Yeah.
For me, it was okay since the beginning, but I am using a special here.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to speak up a bit, even though it's not my specialty. I'm gonna do that. All right, so let me share my screen, and first show some slides, and then we'll go into the tool. All right. So what is Orbit INTELLIXIR? Orbit INTELLIXIR is a multi-source analysis tool where you can upload different type of data. So patents, non-patent literature, the scientific articles, clinical trials, and also business news or internal databases. And you can also import Excel files. So if you have data in an Excel file, you will also be able to import it into INTELLIXIR. The only thing to keep in mind is you have to make sure that you structure the file for the system to understand what it's going to analyze. So you will be able to upload all of this data, to consolidate the data, meaning that you will be able to clean how the name of the company or universities or research center are written, and you will also be able to analyze this information. So there is 4 simple steps. The first one is to collect. So you go to the different databases that you have, you export the data, then you upload that into INTELLIXIR, and I will show you how to do it. Then you have to consolidate the data, so you process. So you have dedicated interfaces that we'll see in a few slides. Then you will be able to categorize your data set and analyze it. And finally, you can share this. You can share this either in a static way with a PowerPoint or in a dynamic way. So you will be able to share. There is like an end user interface where the end users will be able to access the data. either from your report that you can make dynamic, meaning that they will be able to access the data behind the different numbers, or they could also just use the dashboard that we have, where they will be able to drill down into the data. So there is different type of users for INTELLIXIR. So you have the super users and admin. So those are the ones that will manage the users. They will also be able to create the studies. So a study, so we talk about study in INTELLIXIR. Those are the places where you set, where you have a set of documents that you will analyze. It can be on the same topic. It can be your competitors. You define the topic. And the super user and admin will also be able to manage common data, so reference affiliations and concepts. So those are, so reference affiliation. So the affiliations are the different entities, the different organizations. So it can be a company, it can be a startup, it can be a university, it can be a research center that are in the system. So we give them one name because you have multiple sources and we have to find one name to define it. For example, in the patent, the affiliation is going to be the assignee. In the scientific articles, the affiliation is going to be the author's affiliations. In the clinical trials, I think it's participants. Those are the affiliations. And when we talk about reference affiliations, it means that basically you can have one label that will define a set of companies. Let's say you have one parent. Let's say I'm going to take the example of Facebook. You have Facebook, and Facebook has multiple. I mean, now it's Meta, which has multiple subsidiaries. What you will be able to do with the reference affiliations is to create one affiliations with Boolean queries containing the different affiliations of Meta. So when you will analyze this information, you will only see Meta and you won't see the different entities if you don't want to see them and if you only want the parent company. Okay. And you can choose how you want to create those affiliations as well. And concepts, you can also group concepts. If you see concepts that are similar and you want to actually group them, that's something that you will be able to do. Okay. Then we have a level below the super user and admin. You have the analyst. So they won't be able to create studies, but the admin will have to create the study for them. So they will be able to create a blank study. And then they will be able to upload their own documents. They will be able to create their categorization. And we'll see more in detail what it means. And they will also be able to apply the reference affiliation. They won't be able to change the query that you have behind a reference affiliation, but they will be able to use it. And finally, we have the readers. So those will be the end users that will be able to access the final data. So once you have uploaded the document, you have processed it, you have analyzed it, you have created the reports, then they will be able to access the work that has been done. Okay. Does this make sense so far?
Yes. Amandine, I have a general question. You thought about grouping the names. My question is it possible to make groups and subgroups for affiliations? Let me, I think you understood. For example, you have Meta, which is Facebook, and which is WhatsApp, for example.
Yeah,
and then you have many names, which could be WhatsApp, WhatsApp Inc., WhatsApp Corp. So can we make a WhatsApp group and then a super group called Meta, which will contain all the subgroups?
Yes, that's something that you can do.
So it's clusters and subclusters. Okay.
Yes, you can do that. I just need to remember how it's called, but yeah, that's something that you can do within the tool.
Great. And Daniel Furtado also have a question.
Yeah, it is about the license we have. I mean, our license just allows for a super user. Is that correct? Okay.
Yes.
Because you have just one, Daniel. In your case and in the case of everybody here, just one license. So it's only the super user.
Okay. So everybody has a super user. Just keep in mind that, and I'm sure that's how Henry, you structured it as well. but you can have as many readers as you want. So those are the free users. So people will be able to access the data afterwards. Like the dashboards, they will be able to access like a simpler interface than INTELLIXIR. So if you want to share data with scientists, with colleagues, they will be able to access it if you create end users. So basically the level 0. So for you are admin. So when you create a user, you can put them as level 0. And those should be included within your subscription. And Henry, you can confirm if that's also how, okay, it works.
Yeah,
Perfect.
that's it.
Okay, so every level 0 user can access the dashboards, but not
Yes.
edit them. Okay.
So exactly. So just quickly to show you, I passed some, I will come back. But basically those will be the type of dashboard that they will be able to access. So this is a dashboard with the different data. They will be able to drill down into it, access the document, but they won't be able to do anything else. They can see the information, but they won't be able to edit it, modify it, to process it, anything. All right. So let me go back. So Orbit INTELLIXIR has text mining features. So you will be able to use these text mining features through the different graphs to explore your dataset, to also help you categorize your data, and also detect trends and weak signals. So those are the different types of graph that you can access to. You have the tag cloud, because when you import data, the system extracts concept from the title, abstract, claims, from those fields, and then you can use them. To analyze, have an idea of, okay, what are the main concepts coming from my data set? You know how you want to categorize, but maybe there is keywords that you can identify through that to help you create your query to categorize your data set.
Great. Amandine, we have a question from Kleber.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
About this text mining and all the other features, is there a specific bibliographic explaining how do you categorize everything? Because I mean, normally we do studies like intern studies, and people are a little bit less caring about like how we manage all those information. But when we are publishing everything, or if we want to publish anything, we need to have a little bit more background about the type of text mining that you're doing, like the specifics of the mining.
Sure. So we do have, so yes, I can provide you that. And it should also be in the help page. But basically, when we mine, what we use anti-dictionaries. In those anti-dictionaries, we have words that we will not extract, either because they don't mean anything. So you have like the, a by themselves, they don't mean anything, or they need to be combined with something to mean something. And you can access those anti-dictionaries. So we provide anti-dictionaries by default, but you can still kind of build and modify the information in there. And you will also be able to see the whole list of concepts that we have extracted. And from there, you can say, okay, maybe those ones are not the one I want. So you can put them, you can either hide them temporarily for the study, or you can hide them like all the time. Sometimes you have keywords or concept that make sense into one study, but they don't make sense in another. So in this case, you will just hide them for the study. So it's going to be like a temporary deletion. But if you feel like this word will never mean anything for your study, what you will be able to do is you will be able to add it into an anti-dictionary, meaning that next time, if the system finds this word in one of the documents that you import, it will not extract it as a concept. Okay. And I will show you how you can actually process that information within the system. All right. Any other questions? All right? So let's move. Oh, just quickly, I want to explain some of the graphs. So here we have the tag clouds. Pretty simple. You have the network graph. So basically here what we show you is what are the different concepts and what are the concepts that we find in the same documents. And that's how we are able to make the network. We have the phylogenetic tree. So this is more to help you detect subtopics. And basically we show you the main concepts. And then we show you what are the main concepts behind those main concepts. So the main concept with different documents, and then in the documents from those main concepts, what are the main concepts that we are able to find? Okay. And then we have the data cluster. So this is more to help you when you have an heterogeneous data set to identify. So the system will clusterize your different data, and that will help you kind of mine a bit more deeply your content. The system will clusterize all of your data, and it will also apply notes based on how homogeneous or heterogeneous the cluster is. Basically, when it's green, it means that this is pretty homogeneous. And when you have red or yellow or orange, sorry, it's heterogeneous, meaning that you will need to actually subdivide a bit more this one. But really, this one is mainly for when you have like an kind of an unknown data set and you want to be able to identify, okay, what are the different topics that I have. But if you know well the topic, this data cluster won't be useful. Okay.
Great. Amandine, talk about the practical use of all these tools. Please correct me if wrong. But so we have a data set there. In the principle, in the beginning, it's a more, I would say, raw data. Once we look into the data using the tools, maybe we will be able to say, well, by the way, I think I can manually make some clusters which will clean the data. So we can use the text mining in the beginning also to clean a little more the data. Am I correct? Is this something usual, recommended?
Exactly. That's something that could also be done. And the data cluster is actually a good one because you can see also like what is close or far from your topic. You identify some things that you were not maybe aware of. That could also help you kind of categorize your data set.
Okay, thank you.
So I was mentioning that you could consolidate and process the data, group the different assignee. I talked about reference affiliations. So this is an example. So here you will be able to create your own grouping rules. Basically, when you import data, you have this post-processing interface where you can see the different entities that have been found in the different documents that you have uploaded. You have different colors. When it's green, it means that you have a reference affiliation, meaning that you have a query behind this reference affiliation that is used. So basically everything so the example is Itachi here. And everything that contain Clarion, Maxell, Itachi, Nippon, Columbia will be grouped under Itachi. So here we give you we provide a default table, but then you will be able to edit this query based on how you want to group. Let's say you are looking at a topic where you see multiple universities. And maybe in some cases, you actually want to group this list of universities. You will be able to use a query to group those universities. And if you want to create sub-entities, that's also something that you can do. So earlier, Henry was mentioning, okay, let's say we want to group all the WhatsApp together under Meta. So you will be able to group them and then to group them together and then add them into Meta.
Okay, great. Amandine, you have a question from Daniel Furtado.
Amandine, you told the green ones were different. Which kind of, the green icon on the left or the text?
What do you mean? Sorry, could you repeat? I'm not sure.
You said the green ones were different or grouped.
Yes.
But I see you have every one of these is a group. What's the difference between the color codes?
Yes, so in green, those are grouped by Boolean queries that you can see at the bottom. In black, those the text, yes. In black, those have been grouped by lexical similarity. So if the system identified that they look similar based on the different characters that they have, it will group them together. So those are often the one to check, because sometimes the system does some broad grouping. So you might want to check this out. And the purple one is the one that you do manually. Sometimes you have names that if you create a Boolean query, you might find still some noise. So maybe you just want to create it. You just want to not create a Boolean query, to not create a query, but just group them manually. And when you group them manually, you will see it in purple. So green, reference affiliation, and you have a query behind it. Black, it's going to be the system that will group them by lexical similarity. So the characters close characters, and the system will group them. And purple is going to be manual affiliation. So the grouping that you do manually, you can do a drag and drop.
Okay. Amandine, so right at the beginning, when we first imported the raw data from different sources or from any source, the system will make this data processing, some data processing automatically, it will come. So
yes,
it's very, very important every time we import data that we look into the data processing filter just to see and to confirm if everything is okay. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
Good. Thank you.
And sometimes you might not look at it. You look at the actual graphs. You say, oh, okay, I like this graph, but you might see duplicates. So that's when you will say, oh, I actually need to clean my names just to make sure that I don't have duplicates and those graphs make sense.
Yes, great. And we have a question from Kleber.
Whenever the times that I actually noticed some duplicates or some need for post-processing, it's actually when I process the data and get a graph or something, and I notice like multiple groups that should be one. And in that case, if I just go there in this area and change it, it's gonna be changing everything that I have already done, or do I have to like do everything over?
Yeah, it will change.
All the graphs that I have already processed.
Yeah, it will be updated. So you will have, so if you have already taken the graph somewhere in your report, you will have to update those graphs.
Okay.
And I think we often notice that there is duplicates when we actually do the player network to identify who is collaborating with who. And that's when we notice like there is name that we shouldn't see. Other thing that you can do is, let's say you don't have time to actually clean all of these data because sometimes you have a lot. You can always on the graph hide some entities. Because if you know that sometimes the number of collaboration might not be that useful, but knowing that they are collaborating might be enough. So you can always hide the one that you don't want to see in the graph and just move on. That's usually what I do, not when I actually do like real case studies, studies for clients, but when I have to do some case studies to show how INTELLIXIR could be useful for a prospect. Sometimes I want to show that graph, but I see some duplicates. I don't have time to clean my different names. So what I do is I hide them on the graph, and then I just take a screenshot of what I want. And I can show you also how you can hide the different names. All right. The other thing that you can groups.
Yeah. No, I mean, just not to want to interrupt you, but already interrupting. here in Brazil, we have sessions, training sessions, and we normally call these tips from the kitchen, you know, so dicas da cozinha, né, Kleber, which are very useful because we are all facing this situation. We need to give something very fast and we don't have time to go clean all the data, and our boss is asking right now, isn't it, Kleber? So, let me hide something here just to give an idea, and it will be great. So thank you, Amandine, for sharing your experience here, Pastor.
Exactly, and I will show you how you can hide some information. Sometimes just like, I don't have time to do all of these, let me just hide it, so this way I can move on. The other thing that you can group are the concepts. To be honest, I don't see that. I mean, for me, I've never used it. I really use it just when I have to train users, but I don't really spend time here. Why? Because you can still, because you can create Boolean queries to categorize your data set. So sometimes you can use all of these concepts in your query, but you don't have to group those concepts unless you really need to show a graph where you have all the concepts and you don't want to have any duplicates. But other than that, I wouldn't spend too much time on grouping the concepts. And those are the type of visualization that you can have. Here you have the evolution over time by the different type of data that you imported. You have the tag cloud, you have the networks, you have, so this is interesting, you have the cluster, sorry, the names are, but the different clusters. So basically those are the different categories that I have created. And what I'm trying to identify are the overlaps. And for this study, I had divided into three. I had like three categories. I have one for so my study was biopolymers, and that's what I'm going to also show you. One of the study I will show you biopolymers. So I had categorized according to applications, according to biopolymer type, and according to properties. And then when I use this cluster, I wanted to see, based on those three categories, the different values. So one of the values for biopolymers type was synthetic based. I had other type of biopolymers. For the applications, I had cosmetic, I had energy, I had things like this. For properties, I had biodegradable, I had foldable, I had water resistant or something like this. So then I use each of those values to see if I have any overlaps. Maybe I wanted to see, okay, what are the synthetic based biopolymer which are biodegradable and can be used in cosmetics. So then I will be able to access the data and see what have they been working on, who is working on it, and what have they been working on. And then I was talking earlier about the ability to share the data in a dynamic way. So they will be able to access the report. So you can create the reports and they will be able to access it in a dynamic way into the INTELLIXIR interface. And they will also have dashboards that they can use. Okay. Any questions? Right. Yeah, go ahead.
Will you be able to like show us on the fly? I mean,
sure.
Accessing the okay.
This part, I mean, I'm going to show you everything. I mean, almost everything I presented, but I can show you quickly. So if you are end user, what are you going to see? So let me actually go into my INTELLIXIR. I'm going to go into one of my study, and I'm going to do INTELLIXIR. So when you create the users, the level 0 users, you need to give them access to this study for them to access it. And what they will have is they will have this interface. What will be interested for them will be the reports and the dashboard. Same thing, the report, when you create a report, you have to make it available on INTELLIXIR. So this way they will be able to access it. And here I'm going to take one of them, this one. So here by default, it's static, but you can make it dynamic. And here they will be able to access. What's going on? Okay, something is wrong with my
Yes, the idea is that we can not only see the graph, but we can see the data which is behind the graph.
Exactly. That's what I'm trying to.
Like what we have for like drill down at, not drill down, it is like the selection at the graphs in orbit, in which we can see the selection. It's the same thing we can have with INTELLIXIR, but the difference is that in that case, including non-patent literature, all the other data sources.
Exactly. Sorry, I don't know what's going on with my screen right now, but normally when you click on it, you should be able to access data behind it.
Quick question, Amandine.
Go ahead.
Is there a preferable browser? I mean, one that is the most compatible, or I mean, should we use always Chrome, or does it work on Safari, for instance?
There is no restriction in terms of browser. Did you notice anything when you? So which one do you guys use?
I usually use Safari, but
okay,
I can use anyone.
Okay, I don't think there is any. I don't think there is any restriction. I know for one of our tools, we tend to say it's better to use those browsers, but for INTELLIXIR, there is no specific browser to use. You can use any.
So, Amandine, regarding to INTELLIXIR,
yes.
We have the situation in which we can have readers. For INTELLIXIR is something that depends on a reader creation, or it is open to anybody in the company or even outside. How it works?
It's only for, so every admin can access INTELLIXIR.
Sure. But
yeah, the readers are the one that have access to INTELLIXIR. So basically, when they go in, that's all they see. They don't see INTELLIXIR and all the different options. They arrive directly on this. And you could also just share with them the dashboard, which is another option where we have a direct link. Here you can have this link generator. So whenever they will connect into INTELLIXIR with this link, they will arrive directly on this dashboard.
Mm-hmm. And we can configure the dashboard with all the graphs we want.
They can choose what they want in the dashboard, or you can set it up for them, and then they will be able to drill down into the data. Let's say they want to see what has been done in 2021. So they will be able to activate the filter, and then the rest of the information will be adjusted. Then they want to focus on, let's say, UNIF California, then they activate the filter, and then they see other information. And then they can, let's say, I'm going to focus on hydrogel, and they will be able to access this list of documents.
Okay, so we can use also filters and filters on the filter data, and so many filters together.
Exactly. And here they will be able to see the bibliographic information. And then on the right, the information either extracted from the document by the system. So the main concept from this document. Here you will be able to see the categorization, either automatic from the database that you get the information from, or manual, the one that you have applied.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is just something that needs to be activated, but you don't need to worry. You don't need to worry about it. So yeah, so that could be their end user interface, or you could also even have a search engine here. and they could just type here what they want and then adjust the rest of the information. So they cannot process the data, but they can still access it either through that report that they make dynamic, or through the dashboard where they will be able to even drill down more into the data.
Even use keyword filters in this case, Amandine.
Exactly. And what is also interesting is there is also statistics that they can create, or they have some from the dashboard, but the reports will allow you to also create graphs that are not available on INTELLIXIR, but that you can only create on INTELLIXIR, but they will still be accessible by the end users.
Mm-hmm. So
yeah, they still have like a bunch of statistics that they could actually do themselves, but there is graphs that are not available on the INTELLIXIR, only on INTELLIXIR, but you can still share them through the reports.
yeah, so I don't know what about the other colleagues, but and who has already used INTELLIXIR, but INTELLIXIR has some graphs. Amandine has just shown us in the last page, which are kind of standard graphs which are available right there. It's no need to add something more special. And then we can, on top of that, we can add the reports, which are more complex, tailor-made graphs that we can produce those graphs as administrators in INTELLIXIR and make them available through the interface, through the INTELLIXIR interface.
Exactly.
Am I correct in my explanation, Amandine?
Yes.
Okay, good.
But I would say when you are sharing data with end users, you should focus on the reports, because that's the report that you have created, and you bringing them directly the information that they want, or the dashboard if they want to do a bit more on drill down into specific data. The rest, I mean, they can still use it, but report and dashboard is really what you should emphasize with them.
Yes, good. I mean, you just like to pinpoint two very important points. The first one is that we have the data is behind the graph is visible. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is the ability to make filters either by the graphs or by keywords. And this is really fantastic about INTELLIXIR, that it's not on a PowerPoint or something like which is only visual, but we can really browse information which is behind the graphs and can give to the end users the ability to drill down that data. So that's it. And Danielle has a question also.
So Amandine, what's the conceptual difference between the reports and the dashboards?
Sure. So the reports, the reports are the one that you create. So when you are in INTELLIXIR, when you are in INTELLIXIR, you are the one actually, you have the different graphs and you add them into the report, and you can add as many graphs as you want. And you choose which one on the dashboard. And, you can have like a long report or a short report. On the dashboard, what they will be, you only have like up to 4 graphs that you can display. And you can drill down into it. So you can apply filters to drill down into specific information, which is not exactly what you can do with the report.
So maybe I will make a compliment. Danielle, in the dashboard, we have 4 squares, which are there only. In the reports, we can add as many graphs or analysis as we want.
Exactly.
Okay, good.
And they can be more complex than the one that we see on the dashboard.
But Amandine, from the end user point of view, who doesn't know what is dashboard, what is report, for them it will show only in one single interface, which is the dashboard, with the additional option of the report, isn't it?
Yes. So basically, if you provide them the link from the dashboard, they will arrive directly on this dashboard.
Good.
When they connect. And you can generate the link from here. And then you have access to the reports. If you don't specify, if you don't send them a link to the dashboard, but just a link to the INTELLIXIR interface. I mean, as an end user, they won't have access to the actual INTELLIXIR, but they will have access to this. Let me see. Here. So if you just give them access to like this URL, they will see the studies that have been shared with them. And then when they will click on the study, they will access the, if I go back, they will access directly INTELLIXIR. They won't have as many options as I'm showing right now because here I am an admin, but they will just, oh, sorry, I clicked on.
Then
Sorry.
as an administrator.
Yeah.
Yes, not
Instead
as
of
a
clicking
reader.
on INTELLIXIR, I clicked on INTELLIXIR. So they will arrive here. So I would say the best is to share them the link to the dashboard and show them how they could access the report. So
Amandine, can we share the URL from the straight to the URL to the report?
I don't think so. I doubt it. Let me actually try. This way you can all see. No, you cannot share from the reports. Only the dashboard, you have like a link that is generated. For the reports, you cannot share directly a link from the report.
You need have them go into that landing page and then ask, okay, click on that specific report. Okay,
Exactly.
Okay, good.
All right. Okay. Any other questions? All right.
Not now.
So now, how do you create a study? Pretty simple. You can click either on this icon in the middle, or if you already have a folder created, you can just click on it and add a study. So let's do it from here. So I'm going to click here. Now I will have a study. Oh, actually, one thing that you could do is, if you want to organize your work, it makes sense to actually create a folder, either with your name or with the team that you are working with, or based on the, I don't know, business unit or technology, or the type of study that you want to do. So here you will have to click on these wheels and then add a study folder. Here you will give a name. Let's call it 2022. You choose where you want this folder to be. Since I already have a folder with my name, I'm just going to put it under my name and I'm going to validate. Then you have authorized access. Since you are the only one, since you only have one license, you shouldn't worry about it. But whenever you will want to actually provide the access to the different end users, you will be able to change the access right and add either group if you put them in a group list, or users, and you will have to select those users. Okay. All right, so now this folder has been created, and now I want to create a study. So I'm going to click on those three dots, and I click add a study. And I'm going to call it AKM 2022 blank. Right? Then the document language, by default, you only have two, English, French, and it's going to be English. If you add patents, the system will take by default a priority, but you can switch to publication. And that's something that you can also do afterwards. You don't have to do it right away. And then the same thing, destination and who will have access to. All right. So now you click on validate. And now you have this page, which is blank. You saw earlier when I show like the study, I had a bunch of information. So every time, the first thing that you need to do is import data. So now I want to know what are the different sources that you guys use? Just for me to have an idea and tell you then how to import the data. Do you guys have Orbit Intelligence?
Yes.
All clients have Orbit
Yeah.
Intelligence.
Okay, perfect.
Most of them have also Scopus or Web of Science, and most have also SciFinder. But here in Brazil, I believe that we have Scopus and Orbit as I would say the default.
Okay.
But a very, I think, interesting way of dealing with data, because most Brazilian clients, they have access to tens of different databases. We have a public access system here, which are government subscription with maybe tens of different databases. So importing from different sources through a generic Excel file would be an interesting thing, because this is useful for anybody.
Okay, sure. And I think, Kleber, you had a question?
No, I was about to ask that as well, because I think that we can import easily with the Orbit access, but I have a little bit of a trouble importing from other other places.
Other sources, yes.
Okay. All right. So yes, so as mentioned by Kleber and by Henry, so if you guys all have Orbit Intelligence, and if it's kind of your main source for the patents, I would advise you to just use the Orbit Intelligence link that will access your saved work in Orbit Intelligence. So this way you will be able to import easily your patents. So just quickly, I click on the import, the system is asking me my credentials. Even if it says Orbit Express, it's still sending you into Orbit Intelligence. And here I can see all of my saved work. So my list, as well as my work files. If you guys use the work files and you use the user fields, keep in mind that you can also import those user fields, even the comments and the ranking that you have done, you can import them automatically into INTELLIXIR.
Oh, that's great, Amandine. I didn't know that.
If you have user fields, something to do is you have to go into more options and select import user fields. That's something that we have recently added because we had some troubles sometimes to import the data. So by default now we don't import the user fields. So that's something that you have to mention and tell the system, okay, I'm importing work files. So now I also want to import my categories, so my user fields that come with it. Yes. And then you import.
Amandine, one additional questions regarding to work files. We have the user fields, we have the data categorization, and even the stars. Are all those features importable?
Yes. The only thing is we don't have exactly, it's not exactly the same star system on INTELLIXIR. So it's going to adjust it, but we still have like 5-star, but it gives like a number. Like in Orbit Intelligence, if you have 5-star, that's going to be kind of a 5, but in INTELLIXIR, that's going to be 10. And let me actually show you. I'm just going to go into another study just to show you.
Then here, a general comment. We have not used that much work files here in Brazil yet. I have not delivered lots of training about it. But through work files, we can categorize data, share information, get user comments, and many other special features, and enrich the database. So what is interesting is that we can use this enriched data and categorize the data, and we can transfer it to INTELLIXIR. It's also good.
Exactly. So for example, here, I ranked this patent within Orbit Intelligence. So here it's going to tell me it's an external expert because it hasn't been done directly on INTELLIXIR, it has been done from intelligence. But we do import this data, and you can actually see the rating. But the rating is based on here, based on the numbers that we have for INTELLIXIR. It's still 5 stars. So if it's going to be 3 stars, that's going to be a 5. If it's 4, it's going to be 7. If it's 10, if it's 5, it's going to be 10. So it's just going to be adjusted, but we do import this data as well as the comments, and that you can use afterwards. All right, and just quickly, the user fields. So those are coming directly from Orbit Intelligence. You can see here, Orbit, and I have the name of my user field, my categories. Okay. So if I go back into my blank study, all right, so yes, if you want to import from Orbit Intelligence, you do it through it. Now, if you want to import from other databases, any other databases, that's going to be this one-click import. So depending on where you import from, you will use different connectors. And the connectors are based also on your subscription. So those are all the connectors that are available with INTELLIXIR. But then depending on your needs and depending on the subscription that you have, you might have different connectors.
Yes, that's important, Amandine, just to comment that in our super promotional pack for academic institutions, we were not able to include all the linkers, the filters. Okay, so we normally have two filters here for the local subscriptions. Okay, and that's why, Amandine, as I was commenting with you, it's very important to have this. I don't know if you can maybe even share a blank file for an Excel import. I believe that this will be very useful for the audience, you know, because yes, you know that's something that, oh, even if you have a connector, but sometimes it's not working as you think it should be working, at least you will be able to import the data there from any source. So if you have a general Excel file, super duper, Amandine, it will be good.
So it always depends on the type of information that you want to import. But basically, and you can actually access it from the help page. If you click on the help page from this icon, you will arrive on what to do with the one-click import. But what you will be interested into, and I will also share with you the file, is select the good file format to export from your source. So let's say you actually want to export from those sources, you can actually click in there and see what you can export. Keep in mind that we have not updated this, even though it's still the same information, you might have to adjust based on the new update based on the update of the system. Now you want to import data from an Excel file into INTELLIXIR. You will have to select the INTELLIXIR TSV format. And here we'll give you a guide on introduction, the file format, the fields to be analyzed. So based on the type of information that you want to analyze, you will have to choose which field makes sense. M means like it can be patents. This field can be used for patents or articles. P just for patents. A for journal articles. But even if you import any other type of data, that's fine. The only patent specific data that's going to be just for patents, but then everything else can be for any other sources.
Good.
So those are the different fields that you have to label your column. So basically, when you export data from the different sources, the first thing that you need to do is define the type. So that's what I put in the Excel, the type. Because if it's a patent, it's not going to be the same as if it's an article. By default, INTELLIXIR import everything as an article if you do not specify the type. And here, basically, you will just have to put articles or patents. Then you have the title. You can use either the short label or the long one, title. And basically, here we tell you, okay, so what are the possible values and what is the description? Then you have the dates, which can be for patents or articles. So if you import articles, just select date. Don't worry about publication date, because publication date is really for the patents. So just date. And you need to use the just the year. Just a year. That's going to be the more simpler way. Or I will come back to you on the date, because I know that you have to use a specific format. And sometimes when you don't use the right format, it's just screw everything up and it's going to put everything as 1900. I know it happened to me a lot. I'm still trying to figure out like how to really put it well, but yeah, you have to be careful on this date format. Otherwise, everything's gonna go at 1900. So there is thing between the different Excel format based on your region, because I know like with Europe and the US, like I don't have the same sometimes format, and it just doesn't work. So I need to. So for this one, I'm gonna do some tests and see with the team to let you know exactly which format you should use for the dates to work when you are using a complete date and not just a year.
Great, Amandine, we have a question from Kleber.
Yeah, I have had that problem with the 1900s, which is kind of crazy, like nanotechnology in the 1900s. And apart from that, in this format, do we have to keep the sequence the same?
No.
Or
No.
based on the title?
Based on the column name, the system will know what it needs to do. If you put date before title or source or abstract before type, it doesn't matter. The system recognizes how you actually label those columns. Right. Then if you have entity names, which can be university, company, or any entity names, those are going to be the affiliations. And they're going to be the long affiliations. Long means the system will still reprocess them to make them shorter or use them for the Boolean query, for the reference affiliation. Shorter them because when you have a university of something, the system will actually take univ and then the something. So it's going to shorten long names, basically. Then you have descriptors. So those, when you actually import them from patents or articles, descriptors will be the author's keywords. And for the patents, the descriptors will be the keywords extracted from the patent classifications. Okay. Then you have the abstract, you have miscellaneous. You probably notice when you import from Scopus, sometimes there is some text that are like under miscellaneous, can't do much about it. It's just, it cannot be searched. It's going to be imported with your data, but you cannot search it. So if you want to have something like this, you can always have a miscellaneous column. Then you have data source, the full source, the ISSN. If you have a URL, you can also add it. The citations, if you have them from the journal articles, the DOI, so forth, if you have citations or citation counts, and so forth. What will also be interesting will be the categorization. Let's say you have done your categorization before going into INTELLIXIR. Maybe you have done it in the Excel. What you need to do is put an underscore and then the field name and the different values. So let me give you an example. Let's say I'm going to keep my example of applications. So I will have to put the underscore and then applications. So what the system will do is, this is going to be the name of the category. And here I will have maybe energy, and then I have to put the semicolon, and then what else? Energy, let's say cosmetics, and so forth. So that's how you have to write those values. So this will be the name of the custom field for those who are familiar with INTELLIXIR. So the name of the category. And just below, you will have the different values. So in the example I took earlier, where I have 3 categories. What I have to do is I have to create 3 different columns: one application, one type, and then another one which was properties.
Okay, so
and then I put the different, what applies to the different document that you put here, what applies which category, and then which value applies to the different document that you have put in there.
So Amandine, every time we want to add an additional field, which is our own field, we put underline and the name of the field. That's it.
Exactly.
Okay. So just give an example here. For example, if I have 2 text fields, so something like the abstract and the full text. I don't know if you have the full text there. So I would be able to put underline full text and then paste the full text data or something like that.
So no, so this will only work for the categories. Like if you want to categorize your dataset in a certain way, and you want to do it before it actually goes into INTELLIXIR,
okay,
that's what you will use.
Okay, so for categorization,
you have to
then
put
we
the
use
underscore, the name of the category, and then the values that applies to the document that you put in the rows.
Yes. So just a general example, Amandine, if we have something with 2 text fields, like the abstracts and the claims, for example, as it is in a patent. Maybe if we have any report, we can have the abstract and maybe any additional field. Can we have this 2 text fields, like which would be abstract 1 and abstract 2 or something like this?
So you can, no, each column has to have like each column is a field. So you have the abstract, let's say you want to have the claims. So claims will be another column.
Okay, so.
So each field has its own column. You cannot mix the different fields in the same column, otherwise the system will be.
Yeah, no, that's it.
I mean, the system will not be disturbed. It will just take what is the name of this column.
Okay, see.
But one column corresponds to one field. Right?
Yeah, okay, good.
If you want to use numbers, you can also use them. I take the example, someone wanted to import Crunchbase data. Crunchbase is where you will be able to find some financial information about the companies. And they wanted to apply like a number that come with it. So instead of using the underscore, we actually use these pound signs, and then we put the number. So what we did is we put the pound signs, put the name as, I think it was investment or something like this. And then in the different rows, I put a number. And the system knew that that was like kind of a category, and you could use that then to analyze the information. So if you have numerical automatic glossary, if you have numeric numbers that you want to use, that you want to use to categorize, that's something that you can also do. I was working with a prospect who wanted to import data with what was I don't remember what they were looking for in terms of numerical value, but they had like a numerical value that applies to some patents. So I was able to actually put the pound sign and the name of the information I wanted to analyze, and then put the different values that corresponding to this value, and they were able to analyze this information. So it appears like a custom field, like a categorization afterwards. But if you use numerical value, you have to use the pound sign. If you use text, that's when you use the underscore. So basically, to create the Excel, you will have to use this. And it's simple. What you have to do is, when you export the data, the only thing that you need to do is changing the column label. Okay. Maybe you will have something instead of long affiliations, you will have assignee if it comes from the patents, or you will have authors affiliations if it comes from scientific articles. All you need to do is change that column and put a name that makes sense for INTELLIXIR.
So
and
the
sometimes you
name
have
is
to be
based on that
creative.
PDF. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's on that PDF that I will share with you. I actually have like an updated version, this one, and I can share with Henry that he will be able to share with all of you. And yeah, that explains how you could do it. And keep in mind that I am also a support. So if you guys need any help with naming the column right, just let me know. What you could do is have like a sample. I don't need to have all the information that could be confidential, just a sample of what you have, just for me to know what information you put in there and what could be the best column label, best field, basically, to use for that specific information. Does this make sense?
Yes, Amandine. I was just figuring out that a good way, I think, would be create a generic TSV file with all the long name fields and share with the colleagues. So
yeah, I can actually do that. I will do one for the articles and one for the patents, and maybe one for any other type of data, depending on what you have. So sometimes you have to kind of be creative and say, okay, maybe, you know, when the person wanted to import Crunch-based data, I had to be creative. I just like, okay, those are not the usual data that we analyze. So how can I actually put some column labels that will help the system still analyze this information?
Yes. And now we have a question from Melissa.
I have a work to do with this kind of source. I have a name and a citation, but it's not a patent. It's Melissa citing two names, Maria, José. José citing Henry, Leonardo. And I have to do the network graphic. So I can name the columns and do this at
So you said you have a name and a location, or name?
No.
A name and a name and a name.
I think Amandine.
It's the most the people that are seated from Melissa is sitting, Amandine and Henry, with the best people to talk. And Henry says that Danielle and Leonardo is the best people to talk. And I have to do the network. So I will have two columns, one column with the names and other columns with 3 or 4 names, and have to do this network.
Okay, I'm trying to think of the best. So what you need to do is, when you want to actually show a collaboration, you have to put both names in the same column. Let's say.
But in this case, Amandine, this would be a little different. One thing is collaboration, co-authors is one thing. That's good. But in that case, it will be a citation map. Okay, so forward and backward citations, for example. I don't know if you have any field specific for citations.
Yes, there is.
That social network.
Oh, I did close it. Give me 1 second.
Melissa.
Yes, there is a specific field, but I don't know if it's the best option actually, because usually to show the network, both have to be in the same column. But now I'm just trying to think of what will be the thing that will, because basically what we'll have to do is, let's say we have either affiliation or author. We have author, and we'll have Melissa, and then Amandine, basically.
Okay.
And that's how we're going to be able to show the network. But now we have to think about what will be the element that will link both names. And that's when I'm...
Another name, because it's Leon, an example, Leonardo is citing Melissa and Amandine. And
So basically, you have to
like
do,
the citations, the patent A
yeah,
citing
basically,
the patent B and C and D.
yeah. So basically, what will be, we have to have something. Let's see. Okay. Then I will have the author, and then I will have Melissa, Amandine. Actually, it's and then we'll have. Actually, I don't need space.
Maybe using the indexing using numbers that you showed us before. Yeah.
No, I don't think so, Daniel. Yes, in this case, it is very specific kind of data and data correlation. Melissa, do you have
Yes.
any export file with this data set?
Not yet.
Yes, because you know that.
I'm working on it.
Yes.
So if you
But
have-
it's like that. It's a name. It's my name, Melissa, and I say that two people, A and B, are the best people to talk. And Leonardo would say that C and D is the best people to talk. And these names will be repeated, and we will have to do the network. So the A people is the most seated person, and we will have the big and a lot of citations.
Yes, Melissa, I may be wrong, Amandine, but even for patents, I have not seen that kind of information. But anyway, Melissa, I'm just figuring out how to do it, which is we have patent citations as well in Orbit.
Yeah, it's like that.
Yeah,
So I believe that we will be able to get a look into if that data is export or importable and how the system deals with it. So this would be my best option. Something like, let's put two inventors, and the other thing is the citation map, which I don't know how the Orbit exports it, but it seems to be.
We don't really
reasonable.
do citation. We don't really do citations map. So yeah, I think the only thing that we need to find, I mean, showing the connection should be easy. You just put those two. If we don't use the citations, we just put the names in the same column for the author, and we see the correlation. But now we need to find what will be the data that will link them, because we cannot just put the author and
The author and the citation, not
This
not the
citing
author.
and the cited author. This would be two
yeah,
things.
yeah. I
oh,
think
the
so.
citing and the cite. Oh, okay, all right.
I think so.
So I guess yes. So one.
Yes, because for collaboration, it is
The
easy.
author and the cited author.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Trying to think. I think I'm gonna have to come back to you on that. So do you mind resending me what you want to do? And whenever you have like even a small set of data, just to see how we can help you with that.
Thanks.
Yes, I think I can also do it, Amandine. Melissa, I'm just figuring out that maybe, yes, that's not easy because even for the citation graphs in Orbit, and it's not that it's for citing and cited author, when we export data, it's only number. We do not have the connection link. So I think that is, I don't know if INTELLIXIR is able to manage this information. So anyway, I believe that Danielle and Kleber also have a question. Sorry.
So Amandine, it's a quick question about Excel tables. Should the file have Excel tables or should it not have Excel tables, or it doesn't make any difference?
So what do you mean? Does it have to be in the Excel format?
Yeah, because inside Excel, you may it's possible to activate insert a table, which is a specific like categorization or formatting. You know, for instance, for importing to Power BI, you need to have a table. But here I don't know if it's worse or if it shouldn't have a table.
Danielle, if I'm not wrong, the import only TSV, which is tab separated variable. So it's word separated by tabs. And
Actually,
for me, it's showing Excel like XLXX.
yeah. So this
Yeah,
one.
okay.
Yeah. So you need to import XLSX. Yeah. So you need
Yeah.
to have an Excel format. Was it
Yeah, but
the
I mean,
question?
yeah, because in Excel you can insert a table, then all your data will be inside a table inside the Excel file. You know, that can I mean, it's like a formatting option that categorizes the data, so you can like select,
Filter,
organize, or filter. You know,
I reckon that it's called tabulated.
Yes.
you can click that. So click insert. Click on the insert tab and you see this.
Here.
Yeah. So table is So my table has headers. You know, I mean, so it will convert this into a table if you click OK. So my question is, see, now I have a table. My question is if it's advisable or not advisable to use a table. I mean, because in some cases, for instance, in Power BI, you need to have a table to import. But maybe here shouldn't have a table. So that's my question.
Yeah, I would advise to not use a table. So whatever information, how you filter, you just copy it, paste it in another Excel, and then you change the column name.
Okay.
And Kleber, you have a question too, as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I haven't tried it. So if I'm using one specific graph or view, can I select and see the imported data utilizing those specific graphs? If I'm looking at one specific, like maybe the citation map or something like that, can I see the specific data categories that are using that?
Let me see if I understand what you are saying. So just quickly, I hope everybody understood. So when you want to import any data from anywhere and you have an Excel file, you have to select this import option. Then you import. So actually, let me just go back and then I will answer to your question, Faber. You browse it from your computer and then you select. So you see you only have like 2 connectors. So you should select just INTELLIXIR SLS6 and then you import your data. Okay. All right. So now let's go back to your question, Kleber. So let me go into my study.
Because I reckon that would help with these specific questions about like, oh, can I use these set of data for these specific graphs?
Yes. So you could. We have also something in the chat. Directional citation. Okay, that was the question. So do you have a graph in mind that we can take and see if we? So any graph you can access data behind it. Let's say we want to look at the temporal distribution. Here I can just click and then access the data behind it. Take a few seconds because there is a lot, but
this show.
So here you have the articles corresponding to these 2018. I can see the list and then I can access the data behind it and I will be able to see if I categorize it in a certain way.
Because I reckon that's going to be helpful for identifying the specific headers that I have to have if I'm importing from any other source, right?
Yes. So the headers will be the ICK column labels, but those are headers. You just need to define how they should be. What are you trying to import within INTELLIXIR? In a format that makes it for you. Was it the answer that you were looking for?
Yeah, I reckon that's like answer many questions, because if I'm using a specific graph and I want to import other sources of information, I can download the data set for that specific graph and just change all the data on that. And then I'm gonna have like every specific column label correctly.
Yes. So if you want to know, yeah, if you already have a data set and you want to actually use what is used for this, for example, you have imported patterns from Orbis Intelligence, and let's say you want to import patterns from another source, and you want to know what are the different fields, what you can do is you can either select everything or you just select a short list. Let's say I'm gonna not set export the 1700. Okay, and now I'm just gonna select those two articles. I have this export option. I can choose kind of the long. I can also define what do I want to export. And here I have all the different fields that I can use. So I select the one I want and then I export. So this will have the different fields. That's one option. The other option is to do an export. So home export, I can do export list or study. Let's say I'm going to export the study. I can choose if I have created a database, so smaller set of data. I can choose from it. Let's say I just want to export the projects. Here I have the Excel, and then I can export the study. Once more, I will be able to see the different columns. So that's, yeah, one of the ways to create your own kind of template. So I was mentioning earlier that you could hide information. So let me show you that. Let's say I want, so those are all the categories that have been created. Let's say I want to look at everything that has been in cellulose based. And it can be any graph that you actually display. Let me show the affiliations actually. Let's take a smaller data set. Something faster. Let me try to find a smaller one. So this where we're going to go. Okay. Here, let's say you don't want to see unipagine and CNRS. You can click on this wheel, on the setting wheel, and then unselect what you don't want to see. You could also reorganize them. Let's say you can change the chart type, and let's say you want, for some reason, you want unip Jiangsu as in this here, like the first one. You can just move them as you want. Then you validate, and it's going to be adjusted. Okay. Now, how do you hide also information in the network? Because maybe you have duplicates and it's not going to look good. There is a lot of things that you can also do with this graph. Here you see the first 500 nodes. You can say, you know what, I only want to see the first 50 collaboration. I can just change it, click 50, and then enter. Oh no, wait, no, actually, here, 50. Wait, there is something. I thought I was showing you a hack, but apparently I'm not. Oh, okay, yeah, so you have to change the number here. So here you will have like less collaboration. And let's say you want to something that is a duplicate. I might not have, okay, let's see here, for example, like this is the same entity. I can select what I don't want. I can actually do this. And then one of my options is hide selected. So they will just disappear from my graph. Here, same entity. So this is not a real collaboration. They just need to be grouped. Instead of having to go back, I can just select and hide them. Same thing with this. Select, hide. So this way you don't spend too much time on working on the affiliation names. You just remove what you don't want. Okay. Does this make sense? Okay. All right. So when you import data into Orbit INTELLIXIR, you don't have to do actually too much. Once you import data, you will be able to quickly do some analysis, looking at if you have dates, the temporal distribution, if you have patterns, looking at the geographic coverage. For the articles, looking at the sources, the article countries, clinical trials, there is some dedicated information and so forth. So that's going to be quick. You even can show the main affiliations. Sometimes it's clean. When it's not clean, then you will have to go into the affiliation processing. But I think you can already do a lot without having to do any processing. Okay. Now, let's say you have to actually do some processing and you want to clean the names of the entities. You will have to go into players, affiliations, and the second one. And you probably notice for each, you have two options. Let me actually take the players. The first one is to actually see the analysis, to see the graph. And the second one is to process the affiliation. So basically, this is going to be the processing and cleaning part. And the first option is going to be where you see that information. Okay. So for the affiliations, you go into post-processing. And here you see what has been created. So basically, if the first 20, 30 have been grouped thanks to Boolean queries, I mean, you can check the rest, but you shouldn't spend too much time on it. If you have a lot of black, which has been grouped by lexical similarity, then you might want to ungroup and group them. So for example, here I have one black, which is civil, and I'm sure the system created like a big group which has nothing to do in common. So here, as I can see, I have Uni Houston, I have Institute Korea, but it's just the term civil, which was in the name, has been taken as kind of the name of the entity. So when you have something like this, you have to right click and then ungroup. So this will ungroup that specific entity and put everything on the right. The way it works is everything on the left, when you are looking at graphs where we use those names, you will see them, and everything on the right won't be displayed on the graph that use it. We still show the documents from those entities on any other graph, like if you show the temporal distribution or the number of documents per different categories, but when you actually display the list of players, the list of companies, universities, if the entity is on the right of this interface, it means that this won't be displayed in the graphs. Does this make sense? All right. So now what?
Well, sorry, Amandine, it won't be displayed if it's on the right.
Yes. So let's say, for example, I want to mess up something there. Yes. So when you actually show a graph with the main affiliation, let me actually show it. You will see a certain number of entities. If this entity is not on the left, but is on the right, it means that this won't be displayed on the graph. And it means that you still need to process this information.
Okay.
So how do you process it? Multiple options. The first one is you don't want to do anything. and you change this auto grouping from 95% to 100%, meaning that all the different names that you see, the raw names, will then be back on the left, but not under the civil group, but as this exact name. That's one option. Or that's one option that you can use from the get-go, or an option that you can use when you feel like you have clean process enough affiliation and you don't need to do more. The second option is to create a manual affiliation. How do you create it? Let's say I'm going to create a manual affiliation for these two. I select it. I can actually select both with control. Here I have a name. I can change that name. Here I'm just going to get Univ. If the rest won't be useful, Univ, Treinamento. I can keep the name of the country. And then I click Create Manual Affiliation. And then it's going to be added here on the left in purple. And when I click on the arrow, I can see my two names. Okay. And the third option, which might be the one that you want to use and that will save you time for later, because everything that you save, everything that, if you create reference affiliation, it's something that you create once and you won't have to create it afterwards. So sometimes it makes sense to spend a bit more time on this study to work on the affiliations. So this way, if you encounter the same entities for the next study, it will already be grouped as you want it to be. Okay. I see that we have one question. It's in, it's Henry, okay. All right. I don't know if you want to ask the question out loud, Henry.
No question, Amandine. I was just curious about Melissa's question about citations.
Okay.
From what I saw in the import file, Amandine, we don't have article citations. Okay, so we have citations only for patents. We have cited patents and citing patents. So
we have the number. So
yes, so my recommendation, which was how to bypass the system, would be to create an alias, invent a patent number for the article and for the cited and for the cited, and then just import, and the system will work as the author would be an inventor and the other would be another inventor. So the link in this case would be the patent numbers. Okay, so this is a general idea on how we can do it. So invent some patent numbers for each article. I don't know if it was clear. Yes, because we don't have citations for articles.
Yeah, we just have the number of citations, but we don't have.
Yes.
Yeah, we do have the number of citations, but not like the exact.
But for patents, yes, we have exact patent citations. So this would be a possible way to bypass the system and import. So Melissa has, she will try, and that you can tell us, Melissa.
Right. And the last option is to create a reference affiliation, meaning that you create a Boolean query that will group everything under a specific label. I'm going to keep the example of this university. So I'm going to select both. Here, once more, I'm going to change the name. And now I'm going to put my query. So whenever I see Univ, and I can add, everything has to be in capital letter. I can have Univ, but let's say I have Univ and sometimes I have university or universitate. I can add this wildcard. So you can use wildcards and truncations here. Then I need it to have Treinamento. And if I want, I can add India, but I can see just with that what I will get. So I will be able to test the query to see. Oh, I didn't write it correctly. Oh, yeah, Melville. Right, so I can test the query to see what I will group. And here it looks like there is multiple entities that I can actually group. That I will be able to group with this query. And here I can check, okay, so here they're all in India, but sometimes you have, I think we have a Cambridge University in the US, but there is also Cambridge University in the UK. So sometimes it's good to be able to check if you need to add an additional identifier. Here, this univ name is only in India, but if we had this univ name in other countries, we would have need to add and India. So being able to test a query allows you to see if you need to adjust your query. Maybe to make sure that you have enough, that all the names that you are expecting to get are there. If they are not, maybe it's too narrow. Or sometimes you might get way more names that you are expecting, and some are not relevant. So then you will be able to narrow it down. Does this make sense? Okay. So now with this query, those are all the entities that will be grouped under Univ Tirunelveli, India. Okay. So now I test the query. I see that it's relevant. I can click on create reference affiliation. So this time is going to be in green. And now it's there, and I can see all the entities that have been grouped under this name. Does this make sense?
Can I modify, I mean, inside
Yes.
this list, can I delete a specific entity or not inside this specific list? After the query.
Let's say you want to remove one of them.
Yeah, yeah.
This list. Yeah, you can right click and then remove.
Okay.
And it's gonna go on the right. Okay. Earlier, we're talking about being able to create sub-entities. So let's say, so here it doesn't really make sense, but just to give you an idea, you can click on the name. Make sure, actually move and just go back here. Okay, all right. So let's say you want to create a sub-entity because, okay, you want to create a sub-entity which will be the Department of Civil Engineering from this university. So first, you select what you want, the one that you want to use. Then you type a query, which will be tab, let's say, with the truncations, and I have civil. Wait, something is actually right. You should have. Sorry. Something is, because you should be able normally just click on the name, type your query. Oh, sorry about that. Let me check something quickly on how to create sub-entities. Entity. Okay. So we can create hierarchical labels. Just want to make sure. So one easy one is to create reference entity and then just drag it and drop it. And this creates hierarchical affiliation. That's the easy option. And if you click on it, you can always isolate. So just remove it from this entity. The other option should be, Oh, I have to change the name. I think that might be it. So here, just gonna check. Department Regional Center. It's not even working. Sorry about that. I will not spend too much time on it. Sorry about that. I thought I knew how to do it perfectly, but I apparently don't. If at some point you need any help on that, you can always consult this help guide, or you can reach out to Henry and we can see if we can do like a short session. And I will make sure to train before and come back with the right way to do it.
Yes, I was exchanging messages with the creators from INTELLIXIR, and I asked, oh, they have some training materials, good videos, and they told me, Henry, we know that it's a complex system with lots of things. It will take a while. There is some pain in the process. So I'm happy to see that even you, after 10 years, Amandine, is suffering a little. So I feel a little better now. and just a general comment, Amandine, but the help page in the easiest way we can access the help tool is leading us to very old materials, and some materials are with broken links. I will maybe show to you later how it is showing to me, and that's why I had some problems also in getting trained myself to make the presentations too, because there were some broken links.
Some are a bit updated, but what I will do, and I think it's going to be useful for you, Henry, and for the participant, is I did for one of my US clients, I did like 3 trainings on INTELLIXIR, and one for each thing that they needed to do. The first one is kind of an introduction to INTELLIXIR. How do you navigate? How do you import? Can you actually share the different data? And this one. The first one, really an introduction. And if they have intelligence and INTELLIXIR, what are the difference and the complementarities and things like this? How to import, how do you navigate, how to review the data, what you see, and how you can interact with the data. Then I had another one, which was on how to create the custom fields. So the category that, I don't know if we'll have time to see that, but the different categories, how you can create it, the custom fields, what you can see. Yeah, and how to activate them into the system, and then the type of graph that you can generate. And I was talking about this cluster, the co-currencies cluster. The name was was slipping my mind, but here what you can see, how you can use it, and so forth. And then I had something on the affiliations, how you can process the affiliation, why, how. And then I explain everything. So that will be, I think, useful for you. And I guess, Henry, you will have fun translating that in Portuguese with all the different screenshots, but just to help you navigate through the information.
Yes. Okay, Melissa. We all know that there are lots of things to see and to do, and for the presentation, I think we covered a lot. Melissa, in fact, I will have to thank you, Melissa and Leonardo, very much, because some 2 weeks ago, I entered the system and say, oh, Melissa, I don't know almost anything about the system. The only thing I want to be sure is that we can import data, and if the user is working, and then if you can navigate a little, just to see. But I believe that maybe, Melissa, with this, from what we have seen already, some of the, I would say, Melissa, Amandine, if you could say, oh, I have some of the top analysis I know that people like doing. So just to show us some of this, what the system can do and how we can do, we can maybe study a little later, isn't it, Melissa? But what can be done is very important. I believe that if you can maybe spend some of the final minutes of our talk in give some of the tips from the kitchen about nice graphs and nice analysis.
I have a question. I get lost when you put the data there. The screen that will appear is that one with the black names there. Browse patterns like the titles. When I import the data, which is the first screen that appears?
Okay, sure. So whenever actually
I import the data, so what I have to do to see the graphics and everything?
Yeah. So first step is you import. So you saw I created the study, and then you had like a blank. You had like a blank page, just 3 connectors based on what I have. So what you have to do is first import the data. Once you import the data, that's what you will see. You probably won't see this, but that's what you will see. You will see the main concept, which are extracted from the documents that you upload into the system. And we use INTELLIXIR to not extract concepts that won't be relevant, that won't be useful. But you can still find some that might not be useful, and you can choose to hide them or put them in an INTELLIXIR. So this way, those words won't come back in other studies if they are not relevant at all for any topic that you are working on. You will see this information box that tells you when was the last time that you imported data into this, the number of documents that you have imported. If you have different types of documents, it will show you the breakdown and how many for each type of document. Then it will show you the authors, but also inventors, and also any individuals that we can find in the data that you imported. Then you have the affiliations, assignees, author affiliations, and any entities that comes with the data that you import. And then the concept that the system is able to extract from the document that you upload. Sometimes, and if you take it from Orbit Intelligence, you will see this column that will tells you the categories. So it's going to be already categorized, and you will be able to click on it to actually see the analysis. And then if you want to actually graph that information, at the bottom you have a guided tour that gives you few graphs that you can use. But the best is usually to use the top. The top will actually have more options. So if you want to analyze just the pattern information, you will go into patterns, and then you will have a list of information that you can analyze. The temporal distribution, you can analyze the, I think I have, yeah, general info, keywords, categories, okay. Homepage, so yeah, you can analyze your contents. Patterns is going to be temporal distribution, pattern specific information, classification, priority countries, publication country, extension countries, then articles, again, specific information to articles. Then if you have clinical trials, it's going to be specific information to clinical trials as well. Then if you want to analyze the concepts and do all this text mining that you saw, then you will have to go into text detection, and you will be able to see the different concepts. Categorize is, you won't see anything yet unless it's already categorized from the dataset that you import. But that's where you will be able to create your categories. And then once you create your category, you will be able to see the graph related to those ones. Okay. So the first screen that you see when you import data is going to be this one that gives you kind of a quick summary. This information box, and then the main concept. And then you have this, you have unlocked the analysis that shows you this guided tour, or at the top, you will be able to choose which information you want to analyze.
Amandine, in terms of usability, I think it is, I don't know if you agree with me, but it is always best to open the information that you want to change or to, I mean, create a graph in another tab, right? Because it's kind of difficult to go back.
So actually the system open multiple tabs. So sometimes you can get lost because there is so many tabs open. Sometimes what I like to do is actually keep maybe this home page in one tab, and then with the right click, open another information in another tab. That's something that you can do with the system. You can open multiple tabs. But depending on how comfortable you are with navigating the different pages, you might want to create or not create. I mean, you might want to put the different analysis in different tabs or not.
Daniel, boa dica da cozinha, Daniel. Good tips from the kitchen, Daniel. Thank you very much. I always get lost there.
But I mean, sometimes INTELLIXIR can seem complicated, but when you know what you want, you won't, I mean, at first you learn how to access what you need, but then it's all, it's pretty simple. So just, we have like 5 minutes left. Show you quickly some of the graphs I like to use. Of course, we have the usual ones, the temporal distribution. How is the evolution over time? The second one I like to show is the geography from the patents and or the articles. I might show the patent classifications. What is nice with INTELLIXIR is you can actually see the detail of the definition of the patent classification. Then I like to show the text detection. What I show here might be kind of the main concept, just to have like an idea of what are the main concepts coming from here, coming from the system. I usually use it when I try to create kind of fake studies, to know what are the main concept I could use and how I could categorize my data set. I usually use the cloud and I increase the number of documents, the number of concepts I see. Here it's 200. I can go to 300 and I validate. I can change the size as well if I want to, and so forth. I can use the publications or who is working on those topics. Then I usually use this categorization. So I create my categories. As a reminder, just quickly for the custom fields, that's how you categorize your data set. You can create with this create a new custom field, and I will share with you the PowerPoint. So this way you know how to create them, and then you will have different values, and you can use Boolean queries for those values. Okay. So what I like to do when I have these different custom fields, different values, I like to use the co-occurrences cluster. So I go into categorize, custom fields, and then I do global co-occurrences cluster. Here I will select just those three, the three categories I have created. Few seconds to load. If you have any questions in the meantime while it's loading, do not hesitate. Okay, perfect. So here I have my different categories: applications, properties, types. Now I want to see something specific. So I'm going to unselect everything. I want to see everything that is cellulose-based, which is my type of biopolymer that has folding properties. So I can already see the overlaps. So I have 20 documents that talk about cellulose-based biopolymers that has folding properties, and then that is used in packaging. And now I see that I have 2 documents that actually talk about cellulose-based biopolymers that have folding properties, and that is used in packaging. And then access the data. So that could be interesting. Let's say you want to combine multiple things that are different. You're not sure if people are actually working on this. Using this type of graph will help you identify those unique kind of documents. So if it's not clear, so this is the total number of documents. Is it? No.
Which are in
So
the three clusters.
This is the total number of documents that we have for each category. Those are the ones that are not combined with any other categories. Here we have 193 that talk about cellulose-based and packaging, 12 that talks about packaging and folding, 18 that talk about cellulose-based and folding, and 2 that combine those 3. Okay. And now I can see what are those documents. I see that Novipax and Biotech something work on these topics. And now we'll be able to access this information and see what they are working on. Okay. Does this make sense?
Yes. It's
Just
very
something
powerful.
to mention, and then I will take last question. So when you import data, keep in mind that we only import bibliographic information. So for the articles, you will never import the full text. What you will import will be the title, abstract, and all the bibliographic information, plus maybe the author keywords. For the patterns, if it comes from Orbit Intelligence, and actually if you actually import it with an Excel file, you can have, in addition to title, abstract, and the bibliographic information, you can have the claims. And when it comes from Orbit Intelligence, you also have object of invention, which is novelty, and advantages over drawbacks, which is advantage. But you don't have the full text. You can import the full text, but you have to select like a specific field, and it can take a while to actually import this data. So usually those are bibliographic information. We never import the full text. All right. So now if you guys have any last questions, just let me know. I'm not
So
too hurry yet, so I can take them.
Sorry, inside this page, does it have a link for the full text inside Orbit, or I mean, like to the
Actually,
pattern family?
It
If you click
does.
there.
So you have 3 options actually. So you can access directly Orbit Intelligence through this icon on the right. It will ask you to connect, but then you will access that specific document.
Okay.
All right, so you arrive directly on that particular document. 2 other options. Sorry, the thing is just okay. We also have an access to ISPASnet. I mean, of course, we prefer that you use Orbit Intelligence, but let's say you don't have Orbit Intelligence, so you can click on the name, you can click on the number of the patent, and you will access ISPASnet.
Oh, okay.
And the last option is to access the PDF of the representative member. So since we are in family, there is like one member that will represent the family, and you can get the PDF directly from here of this family. Or actually you can also just access the PDF. You don't even need to click on any link. If you want a specific PDF, if it comes from Orbit Intelligence, you can just click on the PDF, which is icon, which is just next to the number. Okay. All right, does it make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I tested here and the big PDF icon didn't work for me, but maybe it's a problem with the specific document.
Yes, maybe
Um,
not available there.
Sometimes, I mean, I guess we are lucky here, but sometimes this might be a country where we don't have the full text. And when we don't have the full text, we actually don't provide the PDF. Let me check.
Yes, Kleber is commented that no Brazilian documents.
Actually, this one was a Brazilian document and it worked.
Okay.
I'm actually kind of surprised.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, I tested with another one and it worked. Yeah.
Yeah, it might be, I don't know if we have the full text on Orbit Intelligence. That could be it. So if you don't have the PDF of it, you can always go into Espacnet if you can have it.
Okay, good.
So any other questions?
Yeah, if you could just quickly show us how to add graphs to the dashboard.
To the
so
report.
for the dashboard, so I'm going to
Yeah.
show you how to add them into the report.
To the report it is there, but to the dashboard I couldn't find easily.
Yes, so to the dashboard, you actually have to go into the dashboard. For those who are not familiar with how to add data into a report, how to add graphs, when you are on a graph, you have this icon, which is the like this icon. You click on it. Okay, and here you have to select in which report you want to put it, give a name, you can add a comment, and then add and close. All right. That's a report that you create. If you want to make it available in INTELLIXIR, you have to go in there and say proposed on INTELLIXIR. So this way, the end users will be able to access the report. If you don't do that, they won't be able to access the report, even if you give them access to that particular study. All right. Now, how do you change the graphs on the dashboard? You have to go into INTELLIXIR. You go into the dashboard. You can choose the display. So here it's full frame, but if you wanted less, you could. Then you have to actually select here what you want. Let's say I want to start with the time coverage. Sometimes the name, yeah, go ahead.
The graph doesn't have to be inside a report, or does it have to be inside a report?
No, you can
in order for you to insert it into a dashboard.
So you won't be able to insert all the graphs in this dashboard. Here you only see the graphs that are available for the end users.
Ops, caiu a Amandine. Daniel, mas no caso do dashboard, né? Meio que você vai meio que escolhendo o gráfico na hora ali mesmo, Daniel. Então, assim, ele não precisa ser preparado antes. Tem poucas opções, mas você constrói ele na hora. Praticamente tem 4 janelinhas com aquelas opções todas ali. É tipo self-service ali no final. Ixi, pior que
você tem que criar primeiro e depois inserir. Tá.
Você cria o estudo, na verdade, e aí você faz o dashboard daquele estudo. Seria praticamente isso. No caso do report, aí você pode criar qualquer gráfico daquele e colocar dentro do report. E aí disponibilizar aquele report. É uma pena, só que não dá para mandar o link direto do report, né? Seria uma coisa até mais fácil, né? Falar, ó, o relatório está aqui.
Mas eu acho que dá para exportar como PowerPoint,
É porque o report, quando ele está no sistema, Daniel, a vantagem é que ele é vivo, né, cara? Isso que é legal. Eu acho que a grande vantagem do que a gente tem dele é isso. Deixa eu só ver se a Amandine está tentando falar comigo aqui também. Ah, ok. A Amandine aconteceu acho que acabou a energia dela e ela acabou caindo fora, né? Eu vou responder para ela.
Acontece em todos os lugares, né?
Melissa, quando acontece essas coisas, eu até me sinto menos pior, entendeu? Eu tava me sentindo
Porque a gente toda hora acontece, cai luz, cai internet.
abaixo da patinha do rato lá outro dia, né? Que eu tava com vocês ali, agora eu já tô me sentindo menos mal, entendeu? Eu já tô só na uninha do rato já. Peraí. Can you get back with your phone? Eu tô tentando falar com ela pelo Teams, né? Pessoal, aproveitar que a Amandine, não sei se eu acho que ela vai conseguir voltar. Que eu estava pensando, né, pessoal, assim, o INTELLIXIR tem um monte dessas complexidades mesmo, né? E não adianta querer fazer análise de dados sem essa primeira parte que é filtrar direitinho, é garbage in, garbage out, né? Então acho que a gente investiu hoje o tempo certo de como faço gráficos, etc. A gente não viu direitinho ali as opções, mas pelo menos a gente viu como limpa os dados, que para mim é o essencial dele, né? Então, Melissa, até outro dia, né? Outro dia a gente conseguiu subir os dados, hoje a Amandine deixou bem mais claro, né? Como limpa os dados, né? Amandine is back now. So I was speaking in Portuguese, Amandine, a little here. I was just commenting about the amount of information that must be covered in a presentation like this. But one important point is that how to import and how to clean data. I think that we covered very well today. So we'd like to thank you very much because this is a very key step in the analysis. So if you have good data, well treated, yes, we can have good analysis. If you have data which is poor or poorly cleaned, maybe the study will not be as good. So what I was asking people here while I was trying to reconnect Amandine is that I believe that for a first contact for most of you, or even for those who have already had a contact, I think it was really, for me, it's always, every time I get back into the system, I learn something new. So Amandine, thank you very much. But I believe that it would be worthy to maybe to book another session, maybe some weeks from now, in which we will be able to lay our hands on some information, and then come back and with a little more questions here. So because we passed 2 hours and 15 minutes, and I believe that it's too much for an afternoon here. So, and Amandine must have lunch as well. This is very important. So my suggestion is, Melissa, I know that I was owing you this. Maybe you have not seen exactly what you would like to see today, but
that's great.
Okay, but what I will make a question for the whole group. What do you think about maybe booking another session 2 weeks from now after Carnival, something like this? Would it be good for you, Kleber? Yes, Danielle?
And maybe more specific. Maybe you guys have a topic or something that you want to do. Just send me or send Henry like what you want to see. So this will focus on that. I think today there was a lot. I tried to cover a lot, but maybe we can try to do something more specific and we'll spend an hour. And, you know, he said like once we can do multiple sessions, you know, you take the subscription and you take the support that goes with it. INTELLIXIR sometimes, you know, you need some time to be comfortable with it. So do not hesitate. I mean, we don't have to do 2-hour session all the time. Next time we can do one hour session, or it could be 30 minutes. We focus on one thing. Maybe you only want to focus on, okay, how do we clean the affiliations? Okay, that's all we are going to do. How do we work on categorizing the data? That's what we do. Or what are the, you know, we want to do competitive analysis, competitive intelligence, which graph should we select? So we can really break down this. We don't have to do everything because there is a lot. I'm going there. Mm-hmm. So yeah, just let me know what you want to see, and we can do multiple sessions for you to digest this information.
So can I give an impression?
Sure.
So while we're talking, I have imported a list from a study that I had made inside orbit intelligence, right? And what it seemed to me that it is much more powerful to do the analysis inside INTELLIXIR, of the list, you know, comparing everything, and actually the custom fields that you showed seem to be like very powerful. So I mean, for me, maybe go into that direction. I mean, using INTELLIXIR as a more advanced way to do the pattern database analysis would be very interesting. You know?
Sure. Yeah, I can yeah show you how, because there is a lot of things that you can do directly on Orbit Intelligence, but there is things that could be more, I mean, easier to do or on INTELLIXIR. So I can show how to use it. And what I will do is I will also share the different materials. If you have time, you can have a look, and maybe you say, oh, you know, this thing looks interesting. I don't really understand how to do it. So, you know, we can do it. We can then do it live.
Yes,
Okay.
I promise to all the audience here, and that we can have some good tips from the kitchen. For example, how to export project data from Insight and make an analysis for projects and collaboration through projects in INTELLIXIR, which would be very good, Amandine, isn't it?
And actually, we don't need to export, because we do have a connector that can do it for us.
With
INTELLIXIR. Yeah, so there is a connector where you can actually search directly into Insight without actually going into Insight. You're talking about, yeah. So basically, just quickly, and then I have to go because I have a an appointment.
I will make you a
and
call.
just quickly show you. So this is the connector. And then you kind of query it by polymer here, and I say I just want the project. I can search, and I can just import those. So you don't even need to to export the data, because you spend also more time trying to change the column label for it to import it into INTELLIXIR. So the team developed this connector. So if you already have insights, basically just use this. I mean, we just have to activate this connector on INTELLIXIR, and then you can just search. You can just search from here. And what is nice is here you can specify. So let's say you only want to search those keywords in the title. You can say, okay, I want biopolymer just in the title or just in the abstract, which you can't do in Insight. Insight is going to be every field available. And this is just for articles, clinical trials, and projects, so non-patent literature. And then if you have projects, then you will have the total cost. So those are projects I imported directly from Insight, and then you can see them. You can see the amount. Sorry.
Can we see collaboration there, Amandine?
We should. What I would do is I would actually go to StatMaker. I'll just show quickly, and then I really have to go. StatMaker is where you can do your own graphs. And here I would do the network. Instead of all data, I will just select the project, and then I will do this. Go ahead, Kleber.
Yes.
Yeah, I love the Kandi, but I really want to try it. So how can we get this connector with Insights?
I guess you'll have to see with Henry. So basically, we just have to ask our team to activate this filter on your server. So this way, you will be able to import the data.
Clever, and okay, so and amazing, isn't it, Clever?
Yes, yes.
Okay, good. So let's see how we can do it. And what I'm considering, Amandine, is that some of our colleagues have INTELLIXIR and Insight.
Okay.
I would say few, unfortunately. But for the others, it's even more clear, Kleber, why it's good to have INTELLIXIR and Insight together. It's stuff like we can do something fast in Orbit or in Insight, and then go more in depth in INTELLIXIR. And I didn't know about this connector with Insight there this way. So this is very, very powerful now. And even for non-patented literature, is amazing, isn't it, Daniel? Because then we can, there is no step of importing, exporting, preparing data, because it takes some time to do that.
Does it import the startups and companies and institutions or not?
It will just import the names that are on the documents, but you won't be able to import like the profiles. You won't be able to import that with that.
Okay.
Yes,
if you
but
want to yeah, no, you won't be able to do it with those information.
But you know that if we start using Excel spreadsheets and all the other things, then we can export and prepare a very good data to be imported here. I think
Exactly. Yeah, you
amazing.
just there is a way to where we could potentially analyze the startup.
Yes,
outside of their documents.
It will not be a one-click thing, but it is really very powerful. Good.
Okay.
Amazing. Good, Amandine. So now we have, let me see here. Now it's 4 p.m. Brazil, 2 United States. So Amandine, I would like to thank you very much for the really great seminar you delivered this afternoon. I'm sure that everybody liked it very much. And we have a tradition here in Brazil for all the webinars we have here. I would like to invite everybody with a camera which can be opened. I don't know if Leonardo can open or Viviane, but anyway, we have a lot of people here. I'd like to ask for some applause for Amandine. So Amandine, thank you very much, and congratulations for the presentation. Okay, good. So
I guess Henry, you will coordinate with everybody for the next training session or sessions, and yeah.
I will exchange some messages through WhatsApp with everybody, then we can see. I believe that maybe Monday after Carnival would be the same time, would be good for you in principle?
Yes, I think so.
It would be 3 weeks from now.
So it will be on the 7th.
Let me see. Yes, 7th, because
yes.
February.
Yes, that would work for me.
Would it work for everybody too? Melissa, no?
No.
Principal, yes.
No. I have a lot of things. 17th and 8th.
I will ask another question. So before Carnival, it will be on Friday. Just depois da quarta-feira de cinza, sabe aquela sexta-feira? Aí o Daniel que não pode, é isso?
In principle, I can. Yeah. I don't know how things were going to be.
Mas na sexta-feira, depois do Carnaval, você pode?
Sim.
Tá.
Em princípio não
Melissa
poderia. Também. É melhor para mim não.
Kleber também? Não, então tá bom. Eu acho que
mas
vou
enfim,
fazer.
a gente vê.
Bom, semana do Carnaval é a melhor, eu acho, para a gente fazer, né? Não deve ter muita reunião ali. Ok. So Amandine, on Friday, just 2 days.
The 4th.
The 4th? Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Friday the 4th works for me.
Same time?
Yes, same time works for me.
Good. Let's reserve 2 hours. If we need to have a little less, it will be good, because you know that we have a very interested group, as you was able to see, Amandine, here. So if we stop a little, finish a little earlier, it will be good. But if you can reserve 2 hours for us, it will be more than great.
All right, sounds good.
Henry, you can send the invitation
I will.
Right.
It will be the
But
same.
I have to put in the calendar now. So they
Yes, I will.
will
I
not
will
do
do.
another thing that time.
Come on, okay, come on. Just wait a minute, Amanda. It's good. I
Block the calendar and no more meetings.
okay, so copy and I will paste here. It will be the same.
Not now. I'm just joking, but the sooner is better.
Melissa, when you say now, it's now.
No,
It's
not
it's
now,
already
now.
in past. I have already sent it to you.
Because I receive a lot of invitations of meetings and I thought,
Okay, good. So now it's there, Melissa, I think. Amandine, again, thank you very much. Pessoal, obrigado por todo mundo pela atenção, né? E acho que foi bem bacana a gente poder compartilhar. E obrigado pelas super perguntas ali. Melissa também, aquele negócio lá das citações ali foi legal, hein? Mas acho que a gente... Você viu que dá para hackear lá, né, Melissa? Tipo, né? Acho que dá para hackear o negócio lá. Beleza, então. So, Amandine, again, thank you very much. And I will finish here the recording and talk to you next, not next week. It will be next week, in fact.